When my husband, Sue Patzer, passed away 3 years ago, in lieu of flowers, we hoped to build a church in his honor since he was a big supporter of the Maranatha's one-day church program. We had no idea what an amazing plan God had in store. 13 years ago, Jere preached a large evangelistic series at a stadium in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, supported by a large team of Northwesterners, including many academy students. We recently had the opportunity to go back to that location, my son Troy and Duane McKey and I, and we reminisced about it. Those meetings didn't happen without some arm twisting and prodding from his friend Duane McKey. Jere would often say, "I'm not an evangelist or the son of an evangelist. God's given me some gifts, but evangelism is not one of them." But Duane kept poking and prodding him, and eventually Jere used to say, "I was converted." A series of meetings was planned for Bulawayo in March 1998, and at the end of those meetings, more than 1,000 people made decisions to be baptized, including some of our own academy students. Jere was so excited by those meetings, not only the changed lives of those in Zimbabwe, but also our own young people. From then on, he presented at least one series of meetings somewhere in the world each year. After Jere died, we started thinking, where could we build a memorial church? It was a bit frustrating as things just didn't seem to come together and time was marching on. But God's timing is always perfect. Just a few months ago, God provided a much prayed for piece of land in Bulawayo, just minutes from the place where Jere had preached his first series of meetings in Africa 13 years ago. And Mrs. Ngoma had been praying for 11 years for a church to be placed there. It was an exciting spot, the perfect place. Yet, as I heard about the African people's big dreams for this spot, my faith was small. Instead of a one-day church, they needed a one-day church times 5. And not just a church. They needed school buildings for their weekly outreach to their over 160 neighborhood children, as well as for their Dorcas work and Pathfinders. I am so grateful for those who had more faith than I, people like Ann and Rick Westermeyer, and Duane McKey, Bob Paulson, and Garwin McNeilis. Through their efforts, additional donations poured into Maranatha from many conferences, unions, Adventist Health, and many individuals. Their generosity helped make this small dream a big reality. In late September, I had the privilege of going back to Bulawayo to preach a series of meetings at the Barberfield site where the Memorial Church and School was being built. Along with our friends the Patchins, Westermeyers, and McCarthys from back home, as well as many volunteers, my son Troy and I helped put the finishing touches on the beautiful 500-member church and the school buildings. On Sabbath, October 22, we cut the ribbon and welcomed the church members into their new church home, a home that Jere would be so proud of. A number of those members were actually there when Jere preached that first evangelistic series 13 years ago. I've come to find peace in the words of Joseph in Genesis 50. He said to his brothers, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." I say that Satan meant Jere's death as evil, but God will use it for good. Down through the centuries, the devil's tried to destroy God's people, but as in days of old, the death of his faithful ones are the fuel of the gospel flames. Someone asked me, how can I speak about this? Isn't it too painful? Oh, on the contrary. Every time I have the opportunity, I feel like I'm wounding the devil and his cause. So this new church and school in Bulawayo will stand as a memorial to a man who overcame his fear of evangelism and as a reminder of how God can take Satan's plans for evil and bring about something very, very good.